What do you mean self-discovery?
Okay, so I think we live and are more or less inclined to live on a very superficial level in this day and age. It's very hard to spend time with yourself because you can always get a little dopamine hit when you need. You can always love a good little dopamine hit. It's great, mate. I want something now. It is great. But all those little moments of where boredom would normally be, you can get rid of now, you know? And I became interested in this stuff when because I wanted to be an AFL player, you know, like a lot of us did for many, many years. And then I got cut. I was like, okay, I'm not good enough. And then I was like, okay, well, fucking CrossFit then. So there was still this kind of external need for validation to prove myself athletically. And then athletically. And then...
As opposed to athletically.
As opposed to by the feet.
Yeah, my feet early. I was always trying to improve my feet.
Yeah. So I went from AFL into podiatry.
AFL clubs are like, bro, why do you keep fucking massaging your feet all day every day? Kick the footy for once.
I thought you wanted that.
Yeah, that's
nice
right.
heels, dick.
You're like, oh, sorry, I thought this was the Athletic Football League.
The trail off was epic. Oh, shit.
No, yeah, go on.
So I always wanted to prove myself athletically.
Like most people do. Most young boys want to be big and strong and famous and great at fucking whatever.
Absolutely, yeah. And then
As an adult, me over here.
Yeah, 100%. And then I still think I have a little bit of it, but I stopped doing that. And then after CrossFit, you know, then it was CrossFit, then it was weightlifting, it was gymnastics, all these things. And, you know, it was just this fueling this addiction there was some sort of hole in me that I didn't realize, you know, it was fueling an external need for validation. I think it came from Dad. I think I craved my dad's love the most as a child. And the only time I would really receive that sort of validation was when he'd watch me play the footy. Play the footy. This is going well, mate. Fuck it. It's nostalgic.
Yeah, I'll let you go with that one.
Yes, you did.
Yourself.
But I saw the smile.
Which was good. I was like...
The footy? I'll let you go, but it sucked. So, yeah, I think a lot of that came from Dad's validation, which is no fault of his own. And then when I stopped doing CrossFit, I really wanted to move to Bali. My missus and I, we moved to Bali. And then that kind of like self-definition of Tom Ahern, the athlete, Tom Ahern, the CrossFit, Tom Ahern, the AFL player, I felt myself losing touch with it. And then I felt myself, for the first time, not immediately trying to attach myself to some other sort of persona or some other sort of like definitional label that I could build up and, you know, explore that side of my ego. Yeah. And I was like, what the fuck's going on here? And it really scared me. Like, it really scared me. There were lots of hairy nights, lots of nightmares, because for the first time in my life, obviously when you're over in Bali, it's a different world. I really had this time to actually get to know myself, you know, and that kind of manifested itself in the book. So I started writing who I thought I was, who I thought I had been, who I thought I needed to be because of other people. And then, so effectively the book is kind of this idea of, you know, there are so many things that the ego will attach itself to feel comfortable or safe or feel like it fits in or whatever. But largely we are influenced to a pretty high degree based upon the desires of other people, you know. And unless we actually give ourselves time out, which can be really difficult, because if you never give yourself time out and you've got this build up of stress, what you've neglected is probably a lot of trauma, and a lot of pain, and a lot of, you know, fear and stress, and, you know, things that you actually need to go through before you get to the good stuff, which is like, wow, I know myself to a pretty good degree now. I can kind of figure out, I know myself at least to the extent that I know why I am the way I am, like why I always get triggered at whatever, why I always like go for this sort of girl, why I always like, you know, am resentful towards person type A, B, C. And once you find that area, you can kind of start to build the ego the way you would like to see yourself become. So that's kind of like what the book is about. The first part of the book, it's based upon row, row, row your boat. So when I was at CrossFit, I was coaching at CrossFit Balaclava, and Nick, who's Beyond Rest Nick, I was having these sorts of conversations with him, and he kind of just looked at me and he was just like, mate.
Sorry, that sounded like the most Jewish name.
Nick.
Beyond Resnick.
Oh, Beyond.
I don't know why I was like,
Beyond Resnick.
Typical bloke from Balaclava.
Yeah.
Bloody Resnick.
So true.
You know, Beyond Resnick.
Circumcised Nick. That's his first and last name.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
Nick.
Yes. Oh, I'm going to leave
He's
that one.
fuck.
There's fair rhyme there, but anyway.
Yeah.
But
So Dick.
yeah.